Good morning. What's up? It is 7:59. It's good to see you. It's your friend James Shaw. Happy Monday. Welcome to a new week. Last week in October, Halloween is on Friday. Don't forget, it is our annual costume contest. If you're on Zoom with us during the call on Friday, our annual costume contest, there's no prizes. It's just our annual contest where you all are winners and we'll have fun and get dressed up. I've got my costume ready to go for Friday. So I trust all of you have yours. We're going to have a lot of fun. But leading up to Friday, we got to have a great week of calls too. We started things off this morning talking about habits and goals and the difference between the two because we have 65 days left in the year. And so yesterday, when we had 66, because that's how the calendar works, I went into Pivot Shift Ahead and asked, with 66 days left, what's a habit you'd like to create before the end of the year? Because the one thing book, Jay and Gary tell us that the sweet spot for creating a habit is 66 days. It's not that all habits take 66 days. There's 12 to 200 plus days, but they found 66 to be the sweet spot. And so with 66, 65 days, 7 days left in the year, I asked you what habit you would like to build. What was interesting was a lot of you really gave us either it was very broad and vague or it was really more of a goal. So we talked about the difference between habits and goals on the first part of the call. If you missed it, you can go back and listen to the podcast version. It'll be out tomorrow. Julia's off today, so she'll get it up tomorrow and you can go watch it or listen to it. Now I want to move on to another topic, which is about growing your business and making it better. I posted in the Facebook group, and I'll share the link in the chat here in just a second, about the data that's just come out about fallout of your transactions. Links in the chat right now. It's 15% nationwide. Some areas it's more. Here in Tampa, it's 20%. That's where I live. 19% of deals are falling out in San Antonio, 18% in DFW. I mean, it's just really, really interesting. And so I want to spend some time today talking about keeping the deal together because when a deal falls out, you got a disappointed seller, an annoyed buyer, and you have agents who did work and didn't get paid. You have a loan officer who probably did some work and didn't get paid. You've got people who paid money for stuff that now they're not going to use, like they did an inspection and paid for, and now they're not buying the house or whatever. Seller paid for staging, now they got to start over again. Like it just leads to frustration when a deal falls apart. And we can expect deals to fall apart, but I'd like it to be in the more the 5 to 6% range than the 15 to 20% range. So we're going to get your ideas on keeping the deal together. But before we do that, something goods. Carolyn Ricketts, you're up first. Good morning.
Morning. I had a great reminder this weekend of how important it is to grab hold of life with both hands. We attended the wedding of the childhood friend of our daughters. He was able to make the love of his life his husband, and it was beautiful and wonderful. We were able to go to the top of the Empire State Building. We walked the Brooklyn Bridge, and we saw a game at Madison Square Garden. After all of the joy, the father of our daughter's friend, who was a dear friend of ours, passed away after seeing his son realize something that he probably never thought his son would ever be able to do. It was beautiful and tragic, and I'm so glad he was able to see his son get married. And I just want to tell you all, grab hold with both hands, love everyone, and I love all of you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you mentioning that, and our condolences go out to the family, and it's kind of this joy on the front end as well. Carolyn, all the best to you, the community, and their family as well. Carolyn, thank you so much. Dan Tamarkin, you're next. Good morning.
It's kind of a continuation of the same theme. A year ago, many of you know that my oldest daughter was 15 weeks pregnant around this time last year when she had to have emergency open heart surgery. And now we have this beautiful 6-month-old little granddaughter. I got a chance to visit with her, celebrate my mother's 89th birthday this weekend. And I really do want to say thank you again to this community because and for Carolyn, with Carolyn's friend in mind, the prayers, the words of encouragement, the thoughts of love went a long way toward making it all possible. And to Tulio, I want to, again, just share my gratitude because he was the one that called out the Pivot Shift prayer warriors a year ago to just, have all the blessings that came our way. And Carolyn, I'm so sorry for your loss, and my prayers go out to you and your family.
Thank you, Dan, so much. Appreciate it. All right, Terry, you get the last one. Good morning.
Good morning, and Carolyn, yeah, sorry for your loss. That's tragic. I guess going along with the theme is just getting people together and showing people you love. I Yesterday I had, thanks to this group naming it, my third annual pumpkin patch get together and had over 80 people there. And it was just beautiful. It was a great time to get together with people, have fun, and just create the relationships. And I got feedback from people that they just enjoyed getting together with their family. I painted a couple photo op boards, that people could do their little faces behind it and stuff like that. It was fun seeing people have fun with it. And my house is a glorious mess, and I was really excited. My daughter was my event planner and zhuzhed everything up, like took it to a new level. It was just overall so fun. My heart
Wow,
my heart
love
is
it. I'm so glad you ran that event, and I'm glad you all are running events, and that's really good stuff. Thank you so much, Terry. I want to congratulate Cindy Keefe. She's in Montreal. Listen, Cindy did the blessing baskets that Ellie taught us to do and was recognized by the Canadian Parliament for giving back to her community. She received an award for running blessing baskets, and so I want to just shout out Cindy this morning that running blessing baskets, getting recognized by the Parliament in Canada for doing so is such a cool thing. So, Cindy, congratulations to you. And Ellie, thank you so much for teaching us about it. And those of you who are running blessing baskets, you can get the full playbook at blessingbaskets.jamesdshaw.com. One more thing I want to mention before we get started is this is that goal time of year that we start thinking about our goals and the habits that we need and all that kind of stuff. Hey, would you put in your day timer Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern? Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Would you put this in your day timer? I would love for you to come hang out with me. We're doing a whole thing. I'm calling it What Worked and What's Next. What worked and what's next? And it's a series of questions. I'm just laying out questions for you to think about, to reflect on 2025 and prepare for 2026. 2 o'clock Eastern on Wednesday. I'll put the link in the chat, but it's easy. It's jamesdshaw.com/Wednesday webinar. jamesdshaw.com/Wednesday webinar. We're going to go in and I'm going to ask you some questions. It's just a series of questions for you to think about. Inspire members, you'll have a corresponding worksheet you can do later where you just go through and reflect on 2025 and then consider what you'd like to do in 2026. Now, I know that I'd like for you to keep your transactions together in 2025 and 2026. And like I said at the top of the call, transaction fallout is going up. 15% nationwide, 20% in other parts of the country. Now, in Shift page 269, Shift book page 269, Gary reminds us that this can happen. He says we got to play defense. He said that typically fallouts can increase from under 5% in a seller's market to well over 25% in a shifted market, a quarter of all deals. He says, so anticipate problems proactively and take steps that will prevent anything from sabotaging the deal. He says if finding the motivated and getting to the table and creating urgency represent playing offense in the game of real estate sales, then bulletproofing the transaction is about playing defense. You take charge. Occasionally, you may even need to get a little bit pushy in protecting your client's welfare and your transaction. And if you play it right, there won't be many surprises. You'll catch things early, even before problems occur, and certainly before the closing is at risk. The procedures you put in place will serve you in every market. They are always the right things to do, but in a downshifted market, they can make an even bigger difference. The difference of whether or not you get paid for your work. So I'm curious about, with fallout being up, what are you putting in place to make sure that you're keeping majority of the deals together? Some are going to fall out for very valid reasons, but they shouldn't be up at 20-25%. Orly, let's start with you. Good morning.
Good morning. So we're going to hear a lot of things this morning about bulletproofing your transaction with pre-inspections and things like that. But I just want to point out that the first thing that we have to do is build trust with your buyers and your sellers. Because if you don't build trust, you can't keep the deal together because they won't follow your lead. If you meet a client at an open house and they fall in love with the house and you write up the offer and then things go wonky, there's no relationship there. Why would they listen to you? Who are you? You're just the person that wrote up the offer. But if you take the time to build the relationship and build the trust up front, then they will take your guidance and your resources and listen to the hard. Listen to the hard when they have to give a $20,000 credit because they know it's the difference between moving and not moving. So I'll let everybody else give you the bulletproof ideas, but build the trust up front first.
Orla, that's great advice. Thank you. Tulio, you're next. Good morning.
Thank you, James. And yes, exactly what Orly said. We always do a consult with every client before we start serving them, buyer or seller. I'm going to focus on the buy side. And I've said this before, but it's been a while, James. I have a moment in the buyer consult that's called the no flake talk. And I define exactly what that is. And I go into explaining that it's not appropriate to flake out on the other side, particularly the next day or at the time of the inspection, that the inspector is going to find a multitude of things, and that's okay. We'll work through it. But I make sure that they understand that flaking is not acceptable. And I actually put it in my executive summary. At the end of my executive summary, it says, no flake discussion. Buyer received the talk regarding it's not appropriate to flake out on a seller, and the buyer agreed. And I put that in there, and I show it to the buyer before we submit the offer. So they know that that's in there. And then when we go over the contract before we submit, we go over it again. So they know that's just not appropriate.
It's two people now have told you have to set the expectation, right? You've got to you first create a trust relationship, which is about setting expectations. You can't meet an expectation that hasn't been set, so you have to be able to have conversations about what they want and allow them to see you as a valuable resource. And then Tulio's laying it out. We're not going to flake out over this, and here's what that means. Tulio, thank you. These are two good ones off the top. Tammy, we rarely hear from you, so I'm going to let you go next. We're just bouncing around in the thing this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much. My recommendation is to actually talk to the other agent. I am shocked and awed that agents still just email or just text.
So dumb.
I almost lost a deal last week because the agent just sent an email, said my buyer's backing out. I'll send over the cancellation. So I immediately picked up the phone and called her and go, what's the deal? Well, all they needed was a little bit of extra money for closing costs. So I talked to my seller, we negotiated it, and guess what? The deal's back on. I'm just amazed that people don't want to talk to each other. They just want to email or text. So communication and actually talk and find out what is going on and save the deal.
Something simple. This deal almost fell out over something really simple. Understanding the skill set of the agent on the other side, if there is one, is really important. And I would recommend in today's market that you schedule time to chat with that other agent very early, whether on phone or in person over a cup of coffee. But build a relationship with them, talk with them early, and just get a little bit of an understanding as to where they are skill-wise so you know where you might have to step in. Jessica Wright, good morning.
Hey, good morning, James. Thank you. I think in this market, we have to double down on communication and we have to go slow. We have to take our time on every consult, buyer and seller. We have to fully prepare the seller in walkthroughs before listings, like, pre-inspect, show them exactly what buyers are going to be asking money for, really get them to the full capacity of their condition versus price. And with buyer, we have to do the same thing. We have to prepare them for inspections, what's coming back, even on new construction. Like Tulio said, that was great. You have to teach them that we're not going to flake, but slow down and take your time on these consults and hit every bullet point. And something else that I've noticed recently that this year that's kept my sellers in line is every week, it's not just a phone call follow-up, it's full-blown comps every Monday morning. This is what went under contract. This is your competition. This is what came on the market. This is where they're priced. And this keeps them fully informed and it makes them relax. They know I'm working for them in the background and they're less trigger happy.
That's smart. Really smart. Jessica, thank you. Robin McCoy, good morning.
Good morning, James. Good to see you last week. Thank you. Kind of what everybody's saying is all about communication and talking to the other agents, and as well on the seller side, calling those lenders and making sure that the buyer is qualified. I had one this summer that one little shift in the interest rate and it threw them out of affordability. So you want to make sure that for your sellers that the buyer on the contract can go through with the contract, as well as your buyers, making sure they're shopping in their league and not trying to overdo.
That's really good. Thank you, Robin McCoy. Jenny Wallach, good morning.
Hey, good morning. I am definitely experiencing this even on our team, and it stinks, to be honest. And so the reminder here is, and something I have been observing talking to lots of agents like you do, James, is I am also thinking that us agents need to do our part in remembering that we don't need to always be the hero. It's our job to be helpful. And I think that on top of the stress of our buyers and sellers having the chaos of possible deals busting, internally, us as agents need to continue to take care of ourselves and have the energy needed and the education to best guide our clients. I echo everything that's been said. It's all about the conversation. So going back to remembering and discussing their motivations and their reasons, the reality of a busted deal sucks. The seller, we got to put it back on. Now we get to explain why, even if it was at no fault of theirs, it's still a big old mess that no one really wants to work through. So, being helpful along the way and always at each step explaining the next steps, but not just saying like, oh, yay, this is so fun. The next step is this, but rather, here are the things that could happen in the next steps. During our inspection period, things can come up, and even sharing the not so great stories that could happen during inspection periods or low appraisals we're getting again. So here are the next steps. We had an appraisal come in the morning of the closing day.
Okay.
I mean, really, of course it was 10 grand low, and now we get to figure all that out, and it actually didn't work out. And so it sucks.
But how frustrating would that be?
It's very frustrating. And the
Yeah.
client, felt like, well, we didn't realize that was a tight timeline. So I realized, well, that's the deal. We have to spread out more time for the contracts. We can't just do 30 days. It's easy breezy. There's so much that has to happen in between in that period of time. So if we have more time, then we allow for all the things to be done and it to be less stressful as well.
Good stuff. Thank you, Jenny. Appreciate it. Renee Forsyth, good morning.
Good morning from colorful Colorado. The cool thing is that everyone here is giving things to give us another checklist and ways to check things off. And I'm a big list person, but I think if we don't get the checklist if we don't look back. And I think the first step is to look back so that you can know where you're going. So be able to look back at yourself. What did you do? What did they do? Was it preventable? All of those sort of things. And then sort of bulletproofing your mindset, having the what if or an if then plan. Justin so described this so well. Bulletproofing is an if then plan for every single transaction, for every single day, for everything that you do. And interestingly enough, I learned that when you're learning to walk again or you're learning to stand up, you have to look backwards to put your butt where it needs to go. Just so you know. So without looking backwards, we don't know where to go and how to set that checklist and which steps to follow. And there's so much to learn. DISC, bulletproofing, like going through the MREA and like there's so many things to do. But again, looking back at your transactions that have fallen, because unfortunately we've all got them, and looking back at the ones that were successful, what worked and what didn't, so that you can. And that's why you get on this call.
Sounds a lot like what we're going to do on Wednesday, too. That's the name, Renee, of the call on Wednesday is what worked and what's next is actually what I called it. And let's figure out where are we winning, where are we losing, and then what do we need to do to improve. All right, Renee, thank you. Glad you're here. Kim Lumberg, you get the last word this morning. Good morning to you.
Sorry, looking for the mute button. Yeah, so I also think it's extremely important who you hire for your property inspector. and those people, because how they go about doing that, bedside manner and all that matters, but also their knowledge. I'm in the middle of one right now, a $160,000 property with a $12,000 problem. But because of the knowledge of this inspector, he knew of a $6,000 grant that this buyer could get for nothing. So then when we went and asked the seller for only half the problem, they said, sure, because they see it's being split. My gal didn't have $6,000, but I saved the deal. So who you hire matters.
Really smart. Make sure you have the right partners. Kim, great share. Everybody, great shares. Let's keep those deals together. Let's find a way to keep. There's going to be some fallout, like the example Jenny gave. Sometimes it's just going to happen. But I think a lot of the stuff that falls out probably shouldn't. And if we do a little bit of work on the front end, set some expectations, and do the things we need to do, we can probably keep it together. All right, it's a Monday. Here's the question. What habit are you going to start today? What's the action you're going to take now that this call's over? What's the next right thing for you to do? Go do it. And then we'll see you tomorrow. You got your inspiration. Go put in the perspiration. Bye.
Thanks, James.